All right, welcome to another episode of the Myokinetix Podcast. Today I have a great friend. I know this guy for years, man, and I've been on him trying to get him on this podcast because I know the energy, the personalities, the passion, the knowledge, overall great guy. So I want to introduce you guys to a good friend of mine, RJ Cobbs. RJ, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, my guy.
Bro, takes forever to get you in here. You're always busy, man.
Yeah, man. Stay on the grind. You know how it is.
So, hey, can you just introduce yourself a little bit to the listener, who you are, your background?
My background, like I said, you introduced my name. So I'm RJ Cobbs. A little bit of background about me. I'm a Jersey born and raised type of guy. You know, I'm always repping New Jersey. I'm a former collegiate athlete, went to University of Massachusetts where I played football there. I was, obviously, if you go back to high school, I started at Parsippany Hills, a local town around here in the area, Morris County. Started there and made a name for myself, and then got a athletic scholarship and went off to the University of Massachusetts and made a name for myself there. Became All-American and broke some records. Did this, that, and the third, and just kept grinding and got a shot to the NFL.
Nice, man. So obviously super humble beginning, but then you always work your way up. And I mean, we have guys here that also play in the league, and I think the other day Kareem was in here and he was like, "Oh shoot, I know you."
Yeah.
The legend of RJ. So let's backtrack a little bit, man. So obviously Parsippany Hills is not known for like their football program, not like big Catholic school like what we have, like Bosco, Bergen, all of that stuff. So what was it like when you were coming up through those recruiting days?
Well, like I said, I started my little league playing over at the Morristown Junior Colonials, where in Morristown, like I said, it was a tight community over there. We got like a little, project area. A lot of families moved up from the South, and we just had some hard-nosed kids that's, was trying to, get out of the poverty where we were at and just make a name for ourselves. So I grew up in the cloth of, Morristown raised me, but I lived on the grounds of Greystone. My mom was a nurse there, so I lived on the grounds there, and that was considered Parsippany, the border of Parsippany. And so I always went to like Parsippany schools and Parsippany districts, and I was always a part of the, Parsippany area. So, but my family and everybody lived in Morristown. So Morristown kind of gave me that hard nose, like, persona of like, the grit, the grind, what it's about getting from out of here, out of this town. And kind of just took that to my athletic abilities and just kind of just, went out and grinded and just, made it the best that I could, and just, football went well. I was more like a basketball guy at first, you know what I mean? My brother was a big-time basketball player, so, I idolized him, and I sat back and just watched him, and, he was a big-time star. He was like an all-state basketball guy, so I was like, oh, man, I want to be like this guy, or even better, So, like, as I started becoming of an age, and like I said, I grew up in Morristown, and, I just was just playing the game of football and basketball and just started hearing like, through the streets, like, oh, this kid RJ going to be something. So I kind of just like took that and was like, you know what, I'm about to really, take this thing and blow up. So I just worked out hard every day, got in the gym. I did like whatever I could do on the side, you know what I mean? Put my jumpers up or get my runs up the hill or, and then, just perfected my craft. And then as I had a chance to go to either Morristown High School or Parsippany Hills. And, I was like, man, I could have won all these championships with Morristown High School because during that year, Morristown was like the best football in town. Wow. Like it was like 90, 97, 98, 99, 2000. Like these guys were like, rip your face off. Like all these guys I grew up with, you just see them going off and win a state championship. So I had a chance to like either go with that or just go off and try and get into college because that was kind of like my thing. So everybody was like talking state championships and things like that. I'm like, oh man, I want to go off and go to college. So I had this coach, his name's Phil Longo. He's now the current offensive coordinator at Nebraska right now.
Wow.
So he was like, love your ability, this, that, and the third. And he was like, man, I see you, I'm gonna get you to go to college. I was like, oh, this is the first time I ever heard somebody was like talking what I was thinking. Mm-hmm. So I was like, yo, I'm gonna ride with this guy. So at the time, we had, Johnny Morant. He was like the number one wide receiver coming out. So I already knew like they had, we had an explosive guy, and I already been going to school with this guy. Johnny from Newark, he moved up here, and like maybe later in his life, he moved up to Parsippany from Newark, and then me and him teamed together. So we went to middle school together. I mean, he was a dominant force. He was my one. I was the one. He was the two in a sense. So I knew he already had a big following. People were looking at him as far as recruiting. So I was like, I'm gonna go with this guy instead of going off and winning the state championships. I'm gonna try and go off to college and make a name for myself, and put my city on, which I always rep Morristown. So, I left, went to Parsippany Hills. I was already there, but I went to Parsippany Hills. I decided not to go to Morristown High School, so I went to Parsippany Hills, and it just fell underneath that culture over there with, like I said, like the guy, Phil Longo, which is like, one of a great friend of mine, and I can call him up anytime or go down to his house. And he was just a officer coordinator in North Carolina, went down there, had a little recruiting trip. Like, I brought a couple guys down there to come see the campus and just show them like what it's like being recruited. So he like invited me over to his house. So I'm just saying like that's how of a relationship me and him have, like he's just one of those guys that like straight shooter, and just, he always, believed in my abilities, and also saw me as a person that like, I could just brighten up the room or just have a group of guys just kind of follow me. And he knew like I was just one of those dogs that would like just lead the way. So I got with him, and then, the rest was history. Became all state, broke, 1,000 yards rusher, 1,000 yards receiver, picks, 8 picks here, this, that, and the third, and became like, I was like one of the top corners coming out in New Jersey in 2001. So it was pretty cool, you know what I mean? Like being around that guy.
Damn, man, that's great. I mean, I love that story. One thing I want to touch on is the fact that you chose not to chase the ring because you knew it was given, but you rather just like, I don't need the state championship. Yeah. I actually need to go to college. Yeah,
I mean, like that was a big thing because like I looked at it like all the guys that, I grew up following and stuff, and like no discredit to, what they did or whatever had happened to them. I just was like, man, like all these guys are all state, and they like, man, they not going off to schools and nothing. Like who helping them? Like why nobody helping my brothers? So I was like, I gotta make a change. You know what I mean? Like all this ability, I can't let this go to waste. And I just applied that, and I had a good support system over there at Parsippany, and those guys just kind of like guided me and helped me, get to where I needed to go as far as getting into college. And then I lived with a white family, for about 10 years. So they took me in because at the time when Greystone started building those fields, they had moved us off the grounds. So I moved in with a family that was already in Parsippany. So I was like, I want to stay here because my mom moved to Morristown. So that was like the real reason. Everybody was like, oh, RJ's mom lives in Morristown, his sister goes to Morristown High School. Why is he not, here at Morristown? So my mom had to like sign adoptions and like, sign over my rights for me to go live with them. Because I like kind of like pleaded like, I was probably 14, 15, like, listen, I'm trying to go to college, and this man is telling me that he's got the best interest in me and getting me to where I need to go. So I'm gonna ride with this guy, and which was Phil Longo. So I was like, I'm gonna ride with this guy, and then it just kind of just worked out. Like my mom just let me go live with this family, and she knew they were gonna take care of me, and raise me right. And like my mom was too far, I could still go over back to Morristown, go visit them and my family, and do all the family stuff. But I just was on that mission, because I was just trying to get out, like I wanted to, prove to my city and prove to my family and prove to my friends that like I could make it, And that was like a big thing, coming out of Morristown. Like, I don't care, all them state championships and things, like people have won. But like, if you the man in the city, like people looking at you like you the next one to come up. So it's like, I wanted to be that guy and like be that voice and be like, yo, follow my road, like this is what I did. Sometimes you gotta make sacrifices, what I'm saying? It's all about making sacrifices to get to where you need to go, And that was a big thing about me. It's just like I knew I had to make sacrifices from like leaving my family, leaving, my close friends that I grew up playing Pop Warner with, and just go off and just follow this journey that was gonna get me to where I needed to go, and like I say, it worked out.
Damn, man. I can't even comprehend what you went through, right? That's the huge thing. I mean, similar to my story, right? Obviously, I moved here from Thailand when I was 12, and like I knew what it's like to be like kind of uprooted, and then you had to leave everything behind and then find a new thing. But the one point I want to make is that you can be talented, but it's what do you do with your talent to get you to the place you need to be in the future, right? Because most people live in the moment, ride in the talent, and you and I know that. you know more firsthand. I just know based on the guys and the athlete I get to work with that at some point when you hit a certain level, talent is all evened out. And then when you go to the next level, people are just as talented as you, but they just work a little bit harder and they just have way more focus than you. I think that's what it comes to. Like, but how do you go through that whole thing, that whole sacrifice, and how do you stay focused? Because most people, I mean, and I'm sure there were times where you question some of your decisions, especially as a young man during that age. How do you overcome that, or how do you keep yourself stay on the path? Because we have kids that come in here that take buses, commute from New York to come play in Jersey to do this. I have kids that get up at 4:30 to go to a private school just so that way they can go play the sport at that team, right? So those are the kids that are sacrificing a lot, and they are doing so much, way more than what a normal adult is doing. So you were doing, I'd say, almost a similar thing back then. So how do you go through it, and what advice would you give those kids that are going through it right now?
The advice I'll get to those kids is just, stay with the plan, stay with the course. Like at some point when you get to, knowing that like, okay, my abilities are like I'm really this good and I have a chance and I have a shot. Like you have to like trust in that and believe in that. And like I said, it's about making those sacrifices. And I think like, you make those sacrifices for the greater good of what your abilities are and what sport or whatever you're doing. Could be sports, could be education, could be whatever. I just feel like, if you put your focus into that and you stay with that and you stay true to what you believe in, I just don't think anything will stop it, And that was just the one thing like, that I did, like I believed in. I was like, man, I want to go to college. I want to be the best player. I want to, I want to do whatever it takes. And I did, like I sacrificed everything, my body, my heart, my soul, my family, my friends, like I sacrificed a lot just to, you know what I mean? Like to get to a point where I thought that this is what it's going to be like, where I need to be at, So I just tell those kids, like, if you believe in yourself, you believe in your journey, just stick with it, because there's nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop your mind. If you believe in it, you manifest it. I just think you see it through, it's going to happen.
Yeah. And recruitment it's different now than it was back then. But it's still, I still think personally that with recruitment it's all about who who can put you in front of the right coaches, in front of the right scout for you to get seen. Because there's so many talented kids out there. But I always tell all my high school kids, and even college guys, like, dude, it's the off the field stuff is so important, and what you do, how you present yourself. Like, because imagine there's two guys as equal as talent, they're gonna want to go with the guys they know they can trust to do the right thing, off the field and in the locker room, right? So, how do you cultivate yourself to be that individual that will attract offers?
Well, like I said, you just gotta stay true, to who you are, and obviously you have to you got to ball out. My thing is like, you got to ball out. You got to, remove all the post and the likes and this, that, and the third. It all comes down to like you balling out. And I think everything also follow suit. A lot of these kids do they do this stuff for like the likes. They do the, for the attention. And I just feel like some kids get caught up in it. For me, I just tell kids that it'll never change. Like this game will never change. Like if you're that good enough, they're gonna find you. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter about how many likes you get or this, that, and the third. It matters like how you produce. What your abilities are, and how's your character. Are you a good leader? Do you set examples? Can you carry that team, or can you carry your teammates to the finish line? And I think like that itself, can get you to being recruited at a high level. I think it's just all about being, having good character, being true to who you are, and what I'm saying, just balling out.
Yeah, no, it's true, man. Like at the end of the day, you need to be able to get the job done, which is playing the sport that they're recruiting you for. Yep. Another thing I want to ask you as well is I always say this to my guys and gals, is like, who you hang out with, your friend group, that's important.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah. So how do you, again, as you were coming up, obviously you going to college, playing in the NFL, like you have to lose some people along the way, right? How do you justify that? Because I know there's some, again, we've seen star athletes that hang out with the wrong crowd and end up doing the wrong thing, right? And it's kind of wasted talent. I think that's the term. So some advice that you gave to yourself back then, and like what are some advice you would give to the kids now?
Yeah, I mean, like there's always like that crew that you got, doing some knucklehead stuff, trying to figure out their way of getting out. And, some people just make some wrong turns. And like I said, if you're one of those guys that, has the ability to go off and, get recruited or things like that, you have to cut that nonsense out. Like, you got to cut them people out. Not saying that you got to, like, desert them and be like, I don't have love for you or this, that, and the third. But I just think, like, if they're not on the path where you're trying to go, I think you need to just cut people out. And you need to stick to what, the path is, and surround yourself with those people that are part of that, on that journey and going with that path. So for me, it's like, those guys got to make a decision. Like, is this guy is my friend good enough for me to take him on this journey, or is he going to continue on doing this knucklehead stuff and going to get me caught up, and then next thing you know, I'm jammed up, and now I'm just a waste of talent. So my thing is just like, you just got to know the difference. Like, hey, this is where I'm going. I get up every day. I work out 2-3 times, 3 times a day. What is my friend doing? Is he doing anything that's productive? Is he adding any value to my life or adding any value to where my journey and where I'm trying to go? So you just got to know, like, what the difference is between that. You know what I'm saying? And then you just got to cut those cancerous people out and just move forward.
Yeah. I love that, man. Super simple. Now, as far as growing up, right, you mentioned your older brother. You looked up to him. Is there anyone else you looked up to, whether it's other athletes or like in the pros or whatever it is, that you pick as your role models?
Man, to be honest, like, I only really idolized a couple of people, and I was just like Lawrence Taylor, Barry Sanders, Deion Sanders. Everybody was a primetime fan. Yeah. So, like, kind of like I just idolized those guys as, like, the greats, and just kind of watched them. I used to ride my bike every day to FDU, Fairleigh Dickinson. Me and my boys used to ride our bikes over there to go watch the Giants practice back in the 90s. So, like, it was just kind of cool to, like, see those guys. And, like, then you watch the two for Bills, and you're like, I didn't even know Bill Belichick was, like, the defensive coordinator. I was just a young kid. I was probably, like, 6'7", but, like, I would ride my bike over there, and, like, I would just watch, football, because that's when I just started playing football a little bit. So, I was a really student to the game, and I would just idolize these guys, and I would, look, obviously turn on the TV on Sundays, and, you just watch, like, the Joe Montanas to the Jerry Rices to the Deons, to Lawrence Taylors and those guys. So, like I said, those are kind of, like, the guys that got me interested. And like, wow, like watching professionals and practice and see how they interact and, how they had the fans and things like that, kind of was like, ooh, I want to be like that one day,
I think that's great, man. It's always good to, like, see what other human are capable of doing. Yeah. And then you kind of put yourself there, like, wait, if you see it enough time, it becomes so realistic, right? For me, like, if I don't know how to do something, I just go like, all right, I need to watch someone do it many, many times. And then it's like, you know what? That doesn't seem that hard. Yeah. Like, it seemed more capable. Yeah. Right? It doesn't seem so foreign. It wasn't like, oh my God, I don't know how to do this thing. But like, wait, they're doing it. If you watch it time and time again, you're like, wait, it's just basic principle. Yeah. All the time, right? I mean, like, with football, we just talked about before that. It's just like, you just do the right thing all at the right time. You study the playbook. You take care of your teammates. You do your role. You'll be fine.
Without a doubt. Yeah. Without a doubt.
And, like, the reason I bring up the role model thing, because, the whole thing with John Moran, and he has a big following. Yep. Right? And these are the thing when I see it, I'm like, man, this is tough. But then again, it's so easy for us to judge as, like, a bystander. But, bro, if I was, like, 20 years old and they give me $100 million, there's no way I would know how to behave with myself.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. It's just a lot of immaturity in his circle, though. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, those guys haven't grown and, like, seen anything. They just seeing a lot of money, and, they see what their peers are doing, and they want to live that lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So it's like, like I said, like, you just got to know who you are and where you're trying to get to. And that's one thing. Ja has to look himself in the mirror and be like, yo, where I'm trying to go, who am I as a person? Okay, these guys see me as a future Hall of Famer, then I got to act like a Hall of Famer. Yeah. It's just, he has to look himself in the mirror and figure out what he wants to do as a person. And I think, with the ability that he got, he could be one of the greats and one of the best. But like I said, it's all about your mental. If you're not mentally strong and you're not mentally stable, you're going to be liable to get yourself in some things that he's going through right now.
Yeah, and there's pressure with greatness, man. Yeah. When people see you as a Hall of Famer, if you don't identify with that and you don't believe in that, you'll crack.
Without a doubt.
100%. So let's talk about that a little bit. So obviously you were heavily recruited. you break some records. So there were some pressure for you to go in.
Yeah.
In situation. How do you deal with that?
I mean, that's like kind of like the tough part, you know what I'm saying? Like coming from nothing to something, you know, and then next thing you know, everybody's like high-fiving you, got their arms around you.
Yeah.
You know, like your inbox is going up. Like it's just, it's a lot of pressure to it, you know? And it's just like, I would tell a lot of kids at like if I could tell my young me, like right now, I would probably tell them like, you know, like just like, you know, seek maybe therapy, talk to somebody, you know, a counselor, somebody a little bit more mature about how to deal with those type of things, you know, because, you know, sometimes as a kid, you know, we kind of feel like, oh yeah, we got this, we can take care of this, you know, we know it all. And it's like, you don't, you know, like you got to go through sometimes, you got to go through some lessons to learn. And like, I would say I learned a lot of lessons in my life, you know. So I would tell any kid, like, you know, just like talk to somebody more professional, you know, get out there and just seek more and just understand, like, you know, what's about to come, you know, and just be ready for that.
Yeah.
So
I think it's huge, man. I think kids now has way more pressure because the realm of social media really amped up the comparison field, right? Because you can be great in your town and you're like, okay, cool. Like I just have to compare myself to my neighboring town.
Yep.
But now with, you know, Max Prep and all of these things, you know, like then you get to see like, oh, where am I naturally? Oh my God, I'm not doing that well.
Yep.
And it gets in their head, man. And I feel bad for them. And I do agree that I think sports psychologists is becoming so big. And me personally, I totally believe in psychology. Like, because obviously I have my own psychologist, right? Because for me, the way I believe is that for me to move forward, I do need to address some of the stuff that's holding me back, right? Especially like this some past experience and all of that stuff. And that's the best way to move forward, right? Rather than, again, bearing under the rug and then just pushing it down. At some point, like, it'll stop you from, like, it's almost like trying to swim with a buoy attaching your leg, right?
Yep.
And the fact that you're not addressing it, you can't ignore it. If you're going to swim 3 miles, you know it's going to keep dragging you back. The harder you're trying to kick, the harder it is for you to get forward.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
And I think it's also important to have some sort of mentor. So now growing up, did you have, besides the coach you already mentioned, was there any someone else that mentor you?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like I have my brother, you know, that like, you know, had a little bit of success. Well, I wouldn't say a little, but he had a lot of success. And at a young age, you know what I'm saying? And just seeing that was kind of like, and then, you know, like kind of, you know, it just didn't pan out the way he had wanted his life to be. And then like he would mentor me and would see like the gift that I had and would just mentor me like, all right, you got to do it like this, or you should do it like that. Or like just always checking in like, nah, get out of here. You ain't supposed to be here, or whatever the case may be, you know.
Yeah.
He was like that type of person that would always just checking in on me and like just, you know, make sure, you know, just tell me what to do and kind of like show me the road and like what not to do. But also let me live a little bit too, you know, because he knew like I was becoming my own man too. Yeah. You know, so, but definitely him, you know, I got to give a big shout out to him. Definitely. Yeah.
I think like with what you're doing now, so obviously you guys, you might not know this, but RJ owns Inception Sport and he does training, sports specific, all types of things. But he's also a coach at Delbarton High School. And I think those two roles fit you so well, man. Just knowing you, knowing who you are, and your story even more so now. So what is it like transitioning yourself from an athlete into a coaching role?
Oh, man, it's been a journey. Like, it's been awesome. Like, giving back, just helping out kids, trying to, you know, achieve their goals that they got set out. Like I said, I just remember being a kid like that, getting in, like, starting to learn how to train and like, because I didn't start training with a trainer probably till like junior year, maybe senior year of high school, right? And then that's when I started really learning like the exercise science of it and, you know, how your body really moves and functions and things like that. And my trainer, you know, kind of was like, that was like the new way of training and, you know, was just coming of age. So I got down with those guys and then I kind of just started seeing myself in that light now, what I'm doing now. As a kid, when I was young, you know, I'm like, oh my God, I can give back and teach these kids on, okay, you really want to go to college? Like, it's just more than just training too. I think like, you know, I'm like mentally there for those kids too. Yeah. And they come in and they kind of like just be able to be free and just be able to like talk about their dreams and goals and what they're trying to do. And, you know, I'm blessed to be able to like guide them towards that direction.
Yeah, I think I have a bunch of kids that works with you, and they're just like, yeah, man. 6 a.m. RJ has the same energy as he is
all day.
And yeah, dude, I love that about you. I think it put you in a really good place when it comes to their relationship, right? Because you're there with them, but you're also ahead of them a little bit, and you can relate to them, right? You can get yourself down to their level by communicating with them, and then you can kind of bring them up as well, because you know how it is. Just like, you know, similar to what we do here, it's like when someone get hurt, you know, like it's never an ideal situation, but what we're trying to do is like, how do we bring them up slowly, right? It's just like when someone comes see you, they clearly want to be better at something, right? They have some problem that they want to fix, and you have to help them get there, but you know things take time. Great things take time.
Without a doubt. I always tell them, you know, like, you know, greatness is being patient. You know, if you're patient enough, you're going to be great enough. You know, you just got to have the patience to like really like stay with it, stick with it, you know, work it, and just, you know, grind it out. And like I said, you're going to be tested, battle tested with a lot of things in life. But, you know, for me, like I said, like I've been there. I've been a part of this journey, so it's easy for me to relate to these kids, especially being over at Delbarton. You know, like, you know, a lot of those kids don't really have that edge to one, or even believe they like, oh, I can go play at this next level. So, you know, my thing that what I'm trying to install is that culture of like, you know, that work ethic of grinding. And if this is what you really want to do, then like, okay, let's go do it, you know? And I get up every day with the same energy and just bring it. And those kids just thrive off that. They fit, you know, they feed off that. And, you know, like I said, I'm just honored to, you know, have that ability to like lead and, you know what I mean, be one of those guys that's vocal enough to be like, you know, hey, let's go. You know,
and coaching is one of those jobs where every time I meet someone like yourself who are great coaches, it's, you know, that you don't do it for the money, because the money, like if you look at the amount of hours you put in and you divide it by the time that you get paid, you know it's not much, but you do it for the kids, and you do it for, it's almost like planting the tree for the next generation, right? You put a seed down, you don't see it the next day, you do it for the next generation.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, like, you know, like I said, like it ain't something like, I mean, if you want to take it to that next level, you know, maybe, I don't know where, you know, my calling is. I mean, I'm still getting into the game. I've been at Delbarton for 3 years. So, like, I'm still learning, like, the coaching aspect of it and, like, you know, just breaking down what that coaching realm is, you know. And so, for me, it's like, you know, I don't know, you know, like, I think at the high level you can get paid a lot of money, but, you know, as far as high school and, you know, maybe a low-level college, I mean, you're not really going to see that much money. But like I said, you can't look at it like, oh, I'm trying to get, you know, I'm trying to make this amount of money. You know, you got to look at it like the opportunities and what you're doing and how many lives you're changing. I think that's essential and is important because, you know, that right there is worth more than just money. You know, I feel like if you have those good traits and, you know, your resume, you keep building your resume up, you're going to eventually make that type of money later down the line, you know?
Yeah. So. I think my philosophy in life is always, if I'm doing the right thing and I'm doing it in an ethical way for the people that I'm trying to help, I'm trying to serve, the money will come.
Without a doubt.
I was like, but where most people would put money first, and when you put money first, then it's not about the person you're trying to help. It's really about you, serving you.
Yep.
So, but that's the short-term play, right? Like most people are, when they go short-term thinking, it's like, how do I make money for myself right now? Where if you go longer-term thinking, it's like, I know I'm going to be broke a little bit, and I've been broke for a long time. Yeah. Where it's like, I just have to keep doing the right thing day after day. Keep grinding, keep showing up, keep helping people, and then next thing you know, one day, it's all just gonna click. Yep. And then it's all gonna come.
That's how it works. I mean, that's just the circle of life in a sense. You know what I mean? Like you do good, you get good. You do dirt, you get dirt. Yeah. You know.
So what's on your plates, man? What's the future for you?
Like I said, you know, transitioning into the, you know, the coaching, football coaching. So, you know, who knows, you know, maybe I want to be coaching at a high level or, you know, maybe I want to stick it out at a high school level. Maybe one day be a coordinator or a head coach someday. You know, that's, you know, something that I'm kind of seeking and, you know, studying and trying to, you know, perfect, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to like learn every day. And like I said, being a player, you know, I understood how to make plays and you know, be the player. But now, like, you know, scripting things and, you know, studying the X's and O's and all that, you know, I'm still learning and getting better at that every day. And just hopefully one day become one of a great coach and be able to, like I said, go off and coach at a high level.
And that's the best, man. I think you're in like some of the most exciting path is like trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Where you're like you don't know where it's gonna take you, but just so excited. You're like, because it's the unknown, right? Yeah. Where it's like, to me, that's where I'm at right now, and I feel like I'm a kid again in some way. Where you know, like when you get like, there's no better feeling than first day of school, right? Yep. Like when you get your fresh outfit, you're like, oh man, who's gonna be in my class? Which girl am I gonna sit next to? I don't even know. And like as you get older, clearly I'm married, so like there's no that.
Yep.
I get excited when I go on a date night with my wife, but now like for me it's like, all right, cool. Like now that I have an opportunity to help more people, how do I generate more impact? What else do I do? What is my calling? Yeah. Right? Because right now this is my current calling. What's the next one gonna be?
Yeah.
Right? And when you start thinking of thing like that, like you start seeing life with a deeper purpose, and I think that's what make the hard stop really more rewarding.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's like, you know, I was always told, like, you know, when you climb the wall, you know, there's gonna be other walls you're gonna have to climb, you know, in order to be great. So I'm just climbing these walls and just trying to, you know, accomplish everything that I got set out. Like, you know, I've been running Inception now for about 7-8 years now. Like I said, I started with that as just a trainer, and then next year I became partial owner, and then later on I outright own it. And you know, I'm just doing my thing and just trying to build this up and give back to the kids, having a safe place for them to come and work out at, and you know, just feel comfortable, like, you know, being around a guy that made it, and you know, a guy that walked the same line that you walked. You know, I'm just trying to have that door for them open where they can come in and feel like they're in the same place where, you know, they're trying to achieve these goals and get to the journey and the path where they're trying to go in life. So I just love what I do every day. You know, I get up every day with a smile. I'm just like, all right, I'm changing lives today. You know, and that's my motto.
And you and I have talked since we both business owner that it has not been an easy journey for either of us.
No, it hasn't.
Right?
No.
Yeah. We could talk about that. Yeah. That's some more for sure next time. But
no doubt.
But listen, man, I love your perseverance. I love your resiliency, and I appreciate
through the
fire. That's it.
Through the fire.
I love it, man. Yeah. So where can people find you?
I'm looking at Florham Park right now. Like I said, my place burned down last year. I had my own spot over in Parsippany, and it just caught fire a year ago. So, you know, like I said, I got back on my toes and just kind of like got a good situation over at Florham Park Fitness right now, and I've been working out over there for the past year. And so we're inside of there. Inception's inside of there, and we're just doing our thing, just, you know, building it back up, trying to get it to, you know, where I had it, and you know, just leaving it more open and open up more opportunities for people that want to come in and be a part of it.
What about on social media? How can people reach out to you if they want to work with you?
Oh, yeah, we're at Inception Sport, not an S at the end, so it's Inception Sport, because some people put the S and they're like, oh, that's not it. But, so it's at Inception Sport. That's where you can find us. We're on there daily. You know, got my sister. I call her my assister because, you know, she assists me in a lot of things. So she does a lot of my social media work and things like that. And so, you know, we on there just, you know, building it up and just trying to get it back to where it was.
Awesome. All right, guys. If you want to work with RJ, you know his contact now. We'll put in the show note.
Yep.
RJ, thank you so much, bro. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. This is my first time on a podcast, so like I didn't really know what to really expect. But like, you know, I could do another one, a couple more episodes when you see me down the line.
There you go. Let's do it.
You know your boy gonna blow.
I know. I know, man. Thank you, bro.
No doubt.